Hey, welcome back to On the Move, where we go behind the scenes of some of Forsyth County's larger construction projects on the roads, on the buildings, and in our infrastructure as well. Today, we're in Johns Creek, just outside the Forsyth County city limits, where a project is just underway here at McGinnis Ferry. John Jefferson is the Director of Capital Projects. John, I know this project, we've been talking about this one for a while. We've had the groundbreaking a handful of months ago, and work now off and running here on the farthest eastern portion, just right here where we are at Sargent Road near the hospital at Johns Creek. What's going on about 100, 200 feet behind us?
Sure, the contractor's mobilized and has started. So they're actually lane closures so the contractor can clear, and that work is underway. So when you're down this end of the county, just be aware that that's going to be going on here for the next 2 or 3 months. I just came through there a few minutes ago. They've got a piece of equipment that's in one lane working, so they're flagging traffic. They're going to stop one lane, let the other lane go, and then alternate back and forth. So that work is ongoing, and then once they clear, you'll see silt fence go up here shortly, orange barrier fence, that sort of thing. We're already meeting regularly with the contractor and the utilities to coordinate utility coordination for relocations, which will be starting shortly.
All right, we'll talk about the full scope of this project here in just a moment. The 2 phases involved with this project, phase 1 now underway. But first, John, let's talk about what you were talking about there with the work going on here with the right-of-way clearing.
Right.
What can folks expect? How long could that be? What are kind of the hours and days they can expect some of this traffic we're seeing right now?
So the contractor is asked to work extended hours, and I've granted them permission to work. So they're going to be working Monday to Saturday. Obviously weather dependent until they get the clearing work finished. So again, normally we've limited traffic lane closures from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're avoiding the morning rush hour and afternoon rush hour, but that work is going to occur 6 days a week until it's finished. So it's going to be the next 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, and you talked about 6 days a week there with that Saturday edition. I know some of you and I talked about the past couple of weeks. Really, the emphasis behind that is to get this done as quickly as possible, right?
Yes.
All right, so that's something to be aware of. More information on our social media channels about that. If you want some more details about those lane closures and what you can expect, we'll be sure to update you there as well. Let's talk about this project holistically. This is phase 1 on the eastern portion of it here, but when you look at this thing through both phases of McGinnis Ferry, where's the eastern portion and what's the western portion of how McGinnis Ferry will be widened?
Sure. So the work actually starts at the intersection at Hospital Parkway. It goes all the way just past Douglas Road at Flynn Crossing, that intersection. That's phase 1. We have the design for phase 2 is complete, and we're waiting on funding sources to be able to get permission from GDOT to bid that and award that. So that funding is going to be the key to being able to start phase 2.
Prime example right here where we are. If you want to know where your SPLS pennies go to work, this is one prime example here on the southern end of the county at Johns Creek with the widening of this road here. A lot of the funding for phase 1 coming from SPLS. So definitely something to keep in mind every time that vote for SPLS comes up, that projects like this are funded by those SPLS pennies. All right, John, well, let's talk about on the far end here really briefly before we circle back and talk about the wrapping up phase 1 and how long that's going to take. But a question we've been getting a lot is on the far end of this project, or in the end of phase 2 at 400. Right. You might have noticed that if you're coming up 400, there is a new exit going into McGinnis Ferry. I know that's not a direct project here for Forsyth County, but give us the details on what's going on there in the timeline.
Sure. So the new interchange at McGinnis Ferry, Forsyth County got the design completed and paid for. We also acquired the right-of-way, and then GDOT is funding and managing the construction. That's been underway for more than 2 years. It's probably got about a year to go. Russell, one of the things you mentioned to me is people drive by there and they see the bridge and they see the ramps, and there's a lot of work in place, a lot of pavement in place. There's still things, striping, signage, guardrails. I'm not entirely sure if they're completely done with the utility relocations, final grading and grassing. So even though some pavement's gone down, there's still a number of things that have got to be completed before it can be open to traffic.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. It's something we see in a lot of projects that while a project might look like it's done, Wannabe engineers like me see that and say, yeah, you know, we're about to open this thing up, but that's not always the case. And we've seen that at Coal Mountain Connector on the other end of the county here in the north end, where folks are saying it looks like it's done, but in fact, there is still more work to go before that opens. So something to keep in mind. We will keep you updated though, once that exit is set to open there at McGinnis Ferry and 400. Okay, back to where we are now here at phase 1. How long is this particular phase going to take again?
It's 3 years.
All right, so we're looking at 3 years, and work just got underway, so it's definitely something to keep in mind there as we keep going. What are some of the messages you have to commuters here in this area directly? It looks like they might be sitting in some traffic.
Yeah, they are today. Like I said earlier, I came from that direction, and the contractors actually got a piece of equipment in the road in order to cut the trees down and lay them down and do that safely. So obviously, if they're in the road, they've got to close one lane down and then flag the traffic. So they let cars go one way, stop cars from going that way, and then allow cars to go the other direction. And that's obviously going to impact the amount of cars that can go through the corridor. So that's going to be going on off and on, you know, for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I've said this before. One of my goals is to speed up transportation projects. So that's why we're allowing weekend work. That's why we're actively engaged in the utility coordination and relocations. The commissioners funded an additional staff member for me. We have a staff member that is their total focus, is to help with utility coordination and remove roadblocks, make sure that we're not having communication gaps or failures. And if we do run across a problem, they can focus on helping us resolve that problem. So utility relocations are critical in getting those public companies, and we've also got Forsyth Water and Sewer and Fulton County Water and Sewer relocations to get accomplished in addition to, you know, building the road. I tell people that it's complicated, but the easiest portion of this is actually building the road. The more complicated portions are acquiring the right-of-way, which we've already done, and then getting the utilities out of the way.
Well, that sure is a lot. You make it sound pretty easy, John, but there's a lot that goes into this. But make no mistake, here in Forsyth County, the team at Capital Projects, engineering, the partners at Johns Creek, Fulton County, the state with Georgia Department of Transportation, all working hard to get these projects delivered as fast as possible. Much more information on McGinnis Ferry as work continues here and really gets going over the next couple of years in phase 1 here on the Johns Creek side of things. You can find some maps and other great information online at forsythco.com. And as always, be sure to check out more on the moves. We'll have another update for you coming up once we reach another great milestone here. John, we appreciate the time as always. The sun is out. I know the crew is working just down the road here behind us. We appreciate the time.
Sure, thank you.
All right, so long for now. We'll catch you next time on the Move. So long.